More than 35 million people around the world have HIV, the virus that causes AIDS. AIDS is both treatable and preventable. With the right drugs and medical care, people with HIV can live normal lives. In November, actor Sheen announced that he had the virus on NBC's Today Show.
I'm here to admit that I am, in fact, HIV positive.
Rodney McCoy is an AIDS activist with NovaSalud, an organization that provides HIV counseling and education services in a Virginia suburb of Washington. McCoy's reaction to Sheen's interview? Approval.
What I really liked was Sheen's candor, his openness, his honesty.
Your reaction? Can most people be that open?
No. I'm in an industry where it's okay or even encouraged and beneficial for me to be out as living with HIV. Most people, I've been reminded recently, do not have that luxury.
Sheen announced his status because he said he was being blackmailed by a woman who took pictures of his HIV medicine and threatened to sell the photos, unless he paid her not to.
I have to put a stop to this onslaught, this barrage of attacks and of sub-truths and very harmful and mercurial stories that are about that threatening the health of so many others.
I think the underlying issue here is stigma. The fact that he was able to be blackmailed should tell anyone, hey, talking about HIV is not a safe thing to do, that it is something that's filled with stigma.
In a letter, Sheen described the shame he felt after being diagnosed.
There are many folks, and I'm going to include myself, who when we're first diagnosed, that's one of the first things we deal with, that sense of shame, that sense of how do I tell people, do I choose to tell people, how do I do it, how do I get past that stigma?
He also said it's a hard 3 letters to absorb.
That hit me right here. It took me back to when I was diagnosed almost 14 years ago. Hearing the words HIV, no, specifically, you have HIV. Yes, those are hard letters to have to absorb, and everything that comes with it. When we first hear the news, it's a lot to take in. Coming out about HIV is a process, so some of us may not be ready to do that right away. I know for myself, I was in a state of denial around my own status for a couple of months. And with my mother's encouragement, I took the test again after I was diagnosed. And I think that for me, that second diagnosis was the turning point for me to say, this is real. I have to deal with this.
Others may come forward and say, thanks, Charlie, thanks for kicking the door open.
My first thought was, amateur, you a newbie, you new to the game. But at the same time, I also realized Charlie represents a community who we often don't associate with HIV. So as a heterosexual white man with money, he's going to reach people that I myself, as a black gay man, may not. So I had to do my own step back and say, we need his voice. We need everyone's voice who can come out and say, I have HIV.
You can't tell by looking who has HIV, and many of those who do don't know they have the virus. UNAIDS estimates that worldwide, nearly half of those infected with HIV don't know their status. If they did, they could keep themselves healthy. Even those at risk of getting HIV can now prevent it by taking a pill that works to keep the virus from establishing a permanent infection. The theme of this year's World AIDS Day is getting to zero. 0 new HIV infections, 0 discrimination, 0 AIDS-related deaths. Scientists now say it seems possible to do that and to end the AIDS epidemic as we know it. Carol Pearson, VOA News, Washington.